Hello and welcome to another video from the Fantasy Legion. Alan Sean back again. We're talking rookies. This time we're talking about Henry Ruggs III.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on him, Sean?
You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Henry Ruggs, but the opportunity is there. So, you've always got to give a guy a nod if the opportunity is there. Frankly, who else is there? I mean, that's the reality.
Terrell Williams. In
and
Bowden.
you could argue that
Edwards.
He's got a pretty good opportunity. What do you think of their offense in general? What do you think about it when you consider the offense he's fallen into? What are your thoughts?
I think they are getting better. I mean, they've got Carson weapons out, haven't they? They picked up 3 rookie receivers, although they may use Bowden as kind of a running back stroke wide receiver, sort of. Well, Swiss Army knife, whatever you want to call it. And we got Terrell Williams. He's solid, if not spectacular. Obviously, they've got the tight end as well. He had a decent first year. He's quite a safety net, but they are getting weapons. And one thing I say about Mike Mayock, he picked really well for the Raiders last year. I mean, the running back was a great pick, wasn't he? So
yeah.
I just think he seems to be a good judge of talent, and I think Ruggs is the first wide receiver or the best wide receiver for what they want to do, then I guess you have to take notice, really. They've invested draft capital in him. So
I have 3 major concerns with this pick. And
he's all about the speed, isn't he? He's just so quick. He's so quick, so they'll move him around, I think.
Now, I think you'd agree that we've talked in the previous video. If you haven't seen it, Justin Jefferson video, about halfway through, worth picking up on this comment there about timing, chemistry, and everything else, and why that's important. I think this is actually more important for Henry Ruggs year 1 because you're not going to get that time to work with the quarterback to practice this running deep and your separation and the way you operate. It's just not going to be there. So
but I think they'll just do a lot of screens to him because he's just so fast in space. I mean, he's got McCaffrey type speed, hasn't he? He's like electric. I wouldn't fancy marking him 101. Mind you, me keeping up with anyone 101 is going to be difficult. But
I think
before I can see him.
My second concern is highlighted just there, Ryan. What you just said is that I think if I'm a coordinator, the obvious thing to do is that you put the pressure on the running game because you'll just put your best corner of safety on Ruggs because that's the reality of the rest of their team. So I don't think. I think it's going to be quite tough sledding for him the first year. I'm not saying the guy is not talented, and I'm not saying he will not have an opportunity to deliver in Dynasty, but it might take more than a year plus before we actually see some of it. They may need more help, is the reality of his situation.
The thing is, the opportunity is there for him to get on the field because they haven't really got the wide receivers to play. He has to get involved, doesn't he? We're seeing a limited sample size. I mean, he's only caught like 40 odd balls a year in college.
Yeah.
But he's all speed, isn't he? So you think they're going to work the playbook so they can get him into space. And I think, if you get him in space, he's going to do bits.
Well, that's another problem. 10 game college career, season, 4 catches a game, probably big catches, fair enough. Some of them taken to the house. Great, looks brilliant on the highlight reel. Well done, Henry Ruggs. How many burners have literally burnt me in drafting? Loads.
Quite a lot, judging by the expression on your face.
I am very hesitant on his opportunities, and I don't think. I think I can see the path to work definitely. So the opportunity, I have to tick it, but there are other concerns. So because there is a lot of wide receivers in this sort of range around him, I'm always swerving. He would have to fall past about 14, which isn't going to happen for me to go, I've got no choice, I have to take him at that value. So thankfully I'm lucky enough swerving nearly every time. So I'm really, he's not a player that's on my radar. And I don't like these burner types. They really let you down a lot of the time. There's been one exception in the last 20 years, and that's Tyreek Hill, that came in as a burner. His
draft capital wasn't very big, but that's what I mean. He's playing with the right quarterback though, isn't he? That he can find separation. We just don't know with Ruggs yet if he can do that, do we? So
no, we don't.
The thing is, I mean, I've heard Jeff Fisher's called him the new Tavon Austin, so that's how highly he rates him.
Well, that's great.
Is this why you're still burned because of the Rams and Tavon Austin?
Oh wow, I got
that contract you gave him. Oh my days.
I mean, you gave the contract to a guy who's 4'4" high as your wide receiver. I mean, at one point, we were we weren't the greatest show on turf. We were the greatest circus on turf. We really had some acrobats in there. I mean, it was mental.
Certainly
I mean, honestly,
he certainly had a clown as head coach as well.
So coming back to Henry Ruggs, I do have some big concerns. And I think a lot of people have seen the John Rosses. And he's improving, but it's taken a number of years to get to a point where at least you think he's just okay. And I mean,
John Ross is somebody, he's that quick that they suffer from hamstrings because they're so quick.
That's the other issue. Pull a lot of muscles. Yeah, speed is great, but speed and control is a different thing entirely. So, I do have concerns with him. So he's, for me, thankfully, a swerve, but there's enough talent around him. I'm avoiding.
You said last time when they press him, he really struggled against press coverage.
Massively, yeah. That's the other video. It's worth watching, but it is his biggest flaw as a coach. Absolutely, you can't. If you put pressure on him as a corner or safety straight off the line, he really struggles to gain separation. Well, and you're talking about a speedster, a burner. Forget it. That's why you avoid him. And that's what I think. You'll look back in a year. I really genuinely believe it. And you'll look back and say, yeah, he really struggled year one. You may well be saying the same in year two. So by year three, it'll be a different conversation.
I'm still excited to watch the Raiders now, though. I mean, they've got they've got at least three new rookies. Edwards, Bowden, Ruggs. They've got Josh Jacobs. He looked good last year. He looked a lot better than I thought he was going to be.
Jacobs did brilliant. I can't. There's nothing I can say about Jacobs except hats off to the guy. He did brilliantly year one, more than I thought. I thought he would struggle to adapt to the big. Going from 10 games to 16. He didn't have much of a college tape. Good at tape, but not enough. Well, he did, and he proved toughness. So that's it. Argument over. Move on. Good player. Henry Ruggs got it all to prove to me. A player I'm avoiding.
So where would you be happy picking him in a rookie draft? What sort of pick number?
15, outside the top 40.
So he's going about sort of 10 or 11, sort of between 7 and 11 at the moment.
He has to slip, and I'm not touching it.
I'd be happy taking him around 11. I think I have taken him at 11, just because I think the upside's there and the opportunity's there. And if they do get him in space, that's his big sort of.
I understand, and I could well be proved wrong, but I have a very weird instinct on these things when it comes down to it, and I'm quietly confident that he's going to struggle at the NFL level. So
he is a player that he can take slants, he can take deep down the field stuff because he's got speed to burn. He can stretch the field, which might help the running game. Obviously, he can take screens. They're the sort of where he's going to make his money, aren't they?
If he can beat press coverage, he can stretch the field. If he can beat press coverage, he could be a slant player. If at the moment,
you think people are going to try and get close to him, or do they give him 5
yards?
Yeah.
But all the coaches will know this. Press. Yeah. And the Raiders are going to have to work on that with him, his release. I think with his speed, if I'm honest, I think he will. I think what we might see develop in his game. It's an instinct. Please have a look at this as the season unfolds. Come back to this tape. Have a little look. He has to work off what's called. Jerry Rice was a master at it, really. So what's called the step back. So that's the instinctive. You take instead of taking a step forward as the wide receiver, you take a step back because you gain half a yard of separation. Then you explode and accelerate the direction you want to go. That creates a dilemma for the corners and safeties. He has to work on that. It's not instinctive in his game. It can be worked on, but you either have it or you don't. And my preliminary kind of coaching instincts around him seem to suggest a little lazy. So I want to see him being uplifted. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but it is just the reality of what I see with it.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do. I mean,
I think there'll be some real big splash plays, but a lot of frustration year 1 and 2.
I don't know. I just think he could be really, really good. We just don't know. That's the thing. Because he has got the speed. They've got to use him.
You've taught me something really valuable. Okay, I say this all the time to you. You've taught me value. And you've taught me if a player falls to a certain value, you take him. He isn't valuable till he reaches a certain point. Then he has a value. For me, that point is 15. Everybody's going to take him ahead of it because they're going to buy into the speed. Great.
Well, I think
you're going to get something.
11's a value. He was the first wide receiver in the real NFL draft. I mean, Mike May.
I am so glad you brought that statistic up because how many first-picked wide receivers in the last 20 years have given top 24 numbers in one season, let alone top 10 or top 12?
I can think of a few off the top of my head, like AJ Green, Julio, probably. Was he first wide receiver taken? I imagine he was.
First man off the board.
Amari Cooper must have done it.
Okay. So we've got 20 years. We've got 20 years of tape, right? First man off the ball. Do you think it would be high? Because it should be, shouldn't it? First receiver off the ball, it should be high. I mean, in 20 years, you'd expect what, 60%, 70% of them to hit, surely.
Yeah, you'd want that sort of.
You would hope, wouldn't you?
There's some classes are better than others, though, aren't they? So like this class is better than others. I mean,
yeah, 30%, 30%. Do you want to know what the statistic is by year 2 that they break out these number ones? It goes down to 10. Let me tell you, the odds are stacked.
The third year, when.
Listen, if a speedster hasn't done it year 1 or 2, he ain't doing.
Are you talking first off the board?
I'm talking first pick off the board, and the speedster just adds to this dilemma, I'm afraid. So he may be the first man off the board. I respect Maycock's opinions. I do admire his draft talent. But
he's a good judge. I mean, he did the draft show for years, didn't he? I mean, the pick he got last year, superb, really, to be honest.
It was. He's very good. He may
comes in, then that's good enough for me at 11.
And I totally understand that, but I'm going to give my perspective is, and it's not because I haven't had opportunities to draft him, as you know. There's opportunities for me if I want to draft him. I could. I haven't taken them, and the reason I haven't taken them is I don't like the player, and I don't think the fit's right. If there were players working around him, I could be comfortable, but there isn't. And he's going to have to do it all himself, and he's going to have to rely on the coaches around him. And
they've got to buy into him. Play into his strengths. If they don't, then it's a totally wasted pick. They've got to get him in space. They've got to work ways of getting him in space, clever ways of getting him in space and getting him in the game.
So let's look at another little statistic just to add a little bit of meat on the bone with this one, because he is worth going deeper here. So I know that Carr is a 4,000-yard quarterback and had nobody to work with last year. So this year, at least he's got one player to work with, and that's good. That's good. The problem is that the one player he's got to work with is the guy that wants to stretch the field deep. That's where he's going to make his bread and butter, realistically. Maybe in slants, but that requires getting open, and maybe he does some plays. We'll see how that develops. It doesn't sound great. His abilities don't seem to suggest that's the right kind of player here, for him. So I wonder if there's maybe this is a building piece for them. They're thinking a little ahead here on what they're trying to do.
I mean, remember that's the case with a lot of rookies, isn't it? But you look at the wide receiver options they've got. A lot of them. I mean, Brian Edwards, Bowden, they're both rookies as well. So you think they've got to he's got to be involved. He's got to be involved somewhere. I don't know how.
You look at the wide receivers.
They haven't got anyone else.
If I can convince anybody on anything, right? Just weigh this up. If you look at the wide receivers around this range, so it's round about the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 even. So you've got about 4 or 5 quite comfortably wide receivers in that range. I prefer all of them to him. And probably you will have a choice as well. And I think the choices are better. So, and the fits are better. So I wish him the best. I think he's talented. But I see big problems, red flags ahead. So good luck to him and all the best. I'd see how that plays out for him. But I'm going to swerve because I don't like it. It really doesn't fit for me. And I've got
I'm
massive.
really interested to see, because I'm obviously you're not high on him. No. I think if they use him right, he could be a game changer for your team, because he's got the pace to rack up big points. If they focus on him like they sort of the Panthers did with McCaffrey, where even when he's doing end arounds and everything, just get him involved in everything, because he is somebody if he gets open. If Henry Ruggs, he's not going to be stopped very easily either.
If Henry Ruggs fell to Kansas, for example, sure, I'm all over it. If Henry Ruggs went to Buffalo, I'm all over it, because he got caught back with the arm to get him the ball, and that'd be amazing. He didn't, so I'm avoiding, and that's how I feel.
I think Carr's not really.
I never said he was. Never said he was bad. I'm going to come back and revisit.
I don't think he's great either, but he's certainly not terrible. He's capable, but they've got to build the offense around him and Jacob, because that's where the talent lies, I think, in that offense. And you got the tight end for the safety net.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to watch them.
It's a great class of wide receivers, and after year 1, we'll be able to come back and look at this receiver class and see who actually shone and who didn't and why, and there may well be some surprises.
Well, there always
we'll
is.
see how
there
he
always
does.
is. That's the beauty of it, isn't it?
He's got a lot of pressure on him as well. He's the first off the board, so let's see if you can deliver the first off the board kind of numbers. Let's see what you do.
The thing with American football is coaches don't like putting rookies in straight away, or certainly a lot of them. They're old school. It's like you're not allowed to put a rookie in until week 8, week 9.
And I don't think
That shows.
You know, I don't think it's really that. I think it's about you as a coach. If you've got a young wide receiver, particularly that comes into your team, we're talking the NFL level. And again, I'm going to have to make some guesses, but this is based at a much lower level. You know that no matter how much time they have normally to learn the playbook and the system and everything else, you've still got some concerns by the time you hit game 1 of the season. And the last thing you want to do is knock someone's confidence. So often, as a coach, you want to bring them along. And that's not because you can't, unless they're absolutely uber talented, you want to get them on the field because you think, I've got no choice. It doesn't always work that way. And so they often do need a bit of time to bring them along, get them ready, get them up to game speed, because it's different when you watch tape.
Do you think they can knock their confidence by not playing them? I mean, look at the way McLaurin flourished, didn't they? They put him in straight away, and he balled out for them, didn't he, for the Redskins?
Yeah, I think some players thrive in the lights, and some players just need a little bit of coaching time.
Some people don't get in the lights, is what my point is. And,
well,
they can lose confidence.
I understand. I'm more, as a coach, when I've coached, I'm more a believer that you put people in and you put them under the.
Surely.
I put players in because I also put players in situations where it's above them. For example, it's 3rd and 7, and I put a player in who hasn't played at all that year and say, this is your play. And the reason you do that is because you want to build their confidence. Sure, it can go wrong, but the thing is, you've given them trust. So half of a coach's job is to build confidence in those players that you believe in them in critical situations that they can go in. I think Ruggs is a talented guy. I think he's arguably one of the fastest players I've seen for a long time. I mean, I'm not talking straight line speed, just ability to go deep, very quick acceleration, very quick. I mean, in terms of what he could do in the right system, I've got no doubt about that in the NFL level. I'm not denying the talent. I just think that the fit and the situation and what's around him currently doesn't really strike me as something that's going to lead to quick success. In fact, it could lead to a lot of frustration.
I think the opportunity, and as long as they actually plan, they build a playbook to actually, fit his skills, play to his strengths. If they don't, then, he's not somebody who's going to jump up and win contested balls. He's not that big, is he? He's not that sort of player. I mean, he did catch a few like that, actually, to be fair to him.
Yeah.
It's not where his main strengths are, is it? You've got to play.
No, the guy is super talented. My view is, again, you don't build a playbook. You don't build a playbook that way anyway. What you do is you have a style of play depending on the coach, and you try to bring players in to fit that style. Currently, he's out of sync with the style of play that they play. That's because they've never had a player like him. So hopefully, in his case, they have to adapt the playbook to him, and we'll see how it works out. I'm excited to see how he does in the NFL level, and I am actually genuinely excited to see how the Raiders do, because I think they are improving, and I'm always happy to see that, because it makes the NFL really interesting for all the games. But I worry a great deal that this guy, you could have avoided him. It was obviously there to see. I know it sounds harsh, but just sometimes it's worth just sort of seeing what's going to happen, and then maybe next year be a better player to trade for or go after than this year when somebody carries all the risk. It depends on your team. If you've got time to absorb him and marinate him, then fair enough, sit him on the bench, and if he works out quickly, great, drop him into your lineup. But I think year one in redraft,
opportunity to. But
they've got to play. I'm avoiding in Dynasty year 1, and I'm avoiding in redraft year 1. And I would rather take a more measured approach with him. Let's see what he can do.
All right. Well, I would love to hear what you think. What our viewers think, because he's certainly sort of a polarizing player. I mean,
I think a lot of people are going to like him, and I get that. I really do. But just for me,
if you've enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. Plenty more profiles coming. We'd like to hear your thoughts, and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching.